Hey, welcome to another video. Today I have another craft kit, and I know it's to make a dream catcher, and I did dream catchers not that long ago, but I got this one for Christmas and I thought I'd try it out. This craft kit is by Mandala Life Art, and I'll have a link to the kit down in the description. So as far as what this kit comes with, as you can see, there's instructions, some feathers, some lace, as well as a wooden hoop. Then there's this plastic bag full of stuff, including some other decorative lace, some beads, a string of pom-poms, a plastic needle, and some thread. It'll also be helpful to have a pair of scissors and some fabric glue or other clear glue. So just following along with the instructions here, it looks like I have 5 steps, and the first one is to wrap some border lace around the hoop. One thing to mention here is that the instructions do say the border lace to use for this is marked with red, but unfortunately none of these lace packages are marked with red, so I just guessed. I would just be sure to choose a long enough piece of lace so that you don't run out before completely covering the entire hoop. Once the lace is wrapped around the hoop, it says to tie the two ends together in a knot or use the thread to stitch them together. Already, this is feeling very similar to how I made my dream catchers. The next step is going to be to use the thread and wrap that around the hoop in a twisted loop, which means you pull the thread behind the hoop, bring it over the hoop, and string it around the hoop between either side of the thread. And there's a typo on the instructions, but at least it tells you what a twisted loop is. But I'm going to start this off by just tying the thread in a knot at the top here, and very similar to how I made my dream catchers, I'm just going to weave the thread around the hoop a couple of times and then tie off the other end when I get to where I started. So with that done, I'm just going to take a second and make a hanging loop, which is actually step 4, so I think I skipped over step 3, but I'll get back to that in a second. For attaching this piece of thread, the instructions call this a cow hitch knot, and then it says to decorate with a bead, so I'm just going to do that real quick. Now back to step 3 for a second. I think you're supposed to keep weaving the thread through the loops that you created when going around the hoop the first time to create a mandala in the center of the dream catcher, but they did include a circular piece of lace in the kit, so I think I'm going to figure out a way to attach that instead. So I think the best way to do this is going to be to use the needle and thread and to go through the border lace around the hoop first and then connect it to the lace in the center. And then I'm just going to tie the two ends of the thread together to keep it in place. And I'm just going to do that about 8 times around this hoop. Once I have that attached, I'm just going to go on to step 5, which is just decorating with additional lace and feathers. For those of you who have watched my crafty gifts video and have seen how I do my dream catchers, that's pretty much what I'm doing here, and I'm just looping the lace around using what these instructions call a cow hitch knot to attach all of the lace and just adding some feathers and beads. Now the instructions say that the clear glue, or fabric glue in my case, is going to be used to attach the feathers, but actually I'm going to use it to attach this pom-pom strand around the inside of this hoop. One more thing these instructions include is how to add a feather. It suggests adding a bead to the end of the feather and then using a few knots to cover the end of the feather, and then applying a small amount of transparent glue. The instructions also mention that if you're adding beads, to attach any beads to yarn first, and then attach that yarn to the hoop. These instructions mention yarn a couple of times, but unfortunately my kit doesn't seem to have any. I definitely have thread, I definitely have the needle, I definitely have the border lace and other decorative lace, the hoop, the feathers, the beads, but no yarn. So once I have the end of the feather covered up with this lace that I'm using, I'm just going to tie it to the hoop. Here's my dream catcher. Overall, I liked the craft kit, but there were definitely some pieces missing. Other than that, that's the end of this video, and I hope to see you next week.